Okay, the beginning of this is Frank's wedding. As you can see, it's very dark in the church. We really needed to have some, there he is. We really should have had more lighting for this. There he is coming out. Frank was married on Thanksgiving Day in November of 1951. I was a maid of honor at that wedding. That was a thrill. Glenna made her own wedding gown, and she sent me a picture of her wedding gown. And it was beautiful. And she told me to get bridesmaids dresses to match. And when I brought these dresses to her, she was so excited. Tommy Dick. She was so excited because they were, she said she couldn't have made dresses to match her dress anymore, any better than that. But this is Curry, Minnesota. I'll never forget this wedding. It was so much fun. We had such a good time. It seemed like the whole town came out. This is Mary and part of Glenn's family. And we had it at the church there in town in Curry, and the reception was held in the church, and all the farmers made all the food, even the ice cream, I think. There's Hugh. That's her brother Hugh. That's Eugene, was his best man. Frank had just gotten notice that he was going to be accepted into medical school. And Glenna told him, she said, I'll wait till you become a doctor, because that's what you've always wanted to be. They had accepted jobs as teachers. There's her brother Hugh. And the funny part about it was, Frank said okay, he was going to postpone the wedding, and they talked to her parents and my parents. That's her brother, their sister Betty, and Johnny, Mom and Daddy. And that's Mr. and Mrs. Gervais, most wonderful people. Mom and Daddy had a great rapport with them. They were just wonderful. Such good people. But anyway, both of those grandfathers said, there's no way you're going to postpone this wedding. Mr. Gervais helped them with the food and stuff from the farm. My father helped them financially. And Frank went into medical school, and they lived in a little Quonset hut up in North Dakota, Grand Forks, North Dakota, where he was accepted into medical school. He did his first 2 years up there, and then went on to go into Creighton to finish and graduate as a doctor. It was rough. Glenna thought she'd work, but God, as my mother used to say, man proposes, but God disposes. And instead of working, by the time Frank graduated, he had 3 boys. And there's Gene, Mr. Macho. Evidently that was Grandpa's hat, and all the boys got a big kick out of wearing it. Yep, Dapper John, there he is. There's Barry and Mary Ann. Oh, Mary Ann, she was very young. 51. Mary Ann was born in 1944. She was the end of the war baby. She was the beginning of the population growth that came after World War II. There we all are. I remember they even made, the farmers even made homemade ice cream, and that was a thrill for me because I loved ice cream. And we sat around the piano and sang songs, and oh, we had so much fun. There's Fred and Catherine and Mary, and Uncle Fred and Aunt Catherine were young. There's Frank and Glenna. It was a very happy day. Oh, Frank got a treasure when he married Glenna. She's been a wonderful wife and mother. And a very good influence on not only her family, but all of our families. Ah, there's the four boys. They're all the same size now, not like stair steps anymore. They're all pretty much in the same, all men now. Tommy and Johnny, Eugene and Frank. I always was very proud of my four brothers. Now here we are, back at home. Mary Ann with her dollies. Uh-oh, somebody I think lost a front tooth there. Looks, there's Kathleen. She was big cheeks and real curly hair and a beautiful child. Johnny. He was so good to all the children. And he loved the babies. That, I believe, is Joey. This looks like a Christmas tree behind him, so that must have been Christmas. Kathleen, she has the same face to this day. I swear she looked exactly as a baby as she does today. Big eyes and high cheeks. Here we are. There's Eugene and I. And Johnny in the Air Force and Mary. They were at St. Jude's. This is St. Jude's Parish, and Tommy. They must have all gone to Sunday Mass there when Johnny was home from service. Here's Dad coming up to Gratiot, and now we're back at Faircrest again. Oh, Mary Ann's first Holy Communion. I believe the dress that Kathleen has on there was the dress that Mary Ann wore. Yes, I think it is. That's the dress that Mary Ann wore for Catherine's wedding. Yes, I believe it was. It was so much, she almost fit in like a flower girl, because her dresses were so much like ours. And by golly, Kathleen's wearing it now. This is Mary Ann's. Oh, this is Grandma and Grandpa Weiss. They lived in St. Catherine's Parish. There's Joey, as a little fella. And Grandma and Grandpa Weiss.
No. Just leave it go.
Joe Weiss and his brothers graduated from St. Catherine's High School. Vincent was, I think, a year ahead of me. And there was Joe and Franklin and Anthony. And that's Mr. and Mrs. Weiss in their house. Oh, here we are. This is my graduation. And this is my best friend, Marilyn, who died of cancer. Marilyn Shaner. God bless her soul. She got melanoma and died about 13 years ago. And that was the graduation day, because those were the dresses we had for our graduation. There's Kathleen. Oh, there's our graduation. There's Marilyn and I. Yeah, that was graduation day, which was I think it was June the 8th, 1952. Yeah, we graduated from Dominican. I'll never forget that. That was one of the happiest and saddest days of my life, because I loved my high school years, and I had a great time. I loved the choir. I loved the plays. And Marilyn was my best friend, who lived on the next block. And she was always my best friend. That's Mama and Eugene, Mary. Oh, here's my graduation. I didn't even know we had these pictures. Oh my heavens. That was Dominican stage. There's Marilyn. And there's Kitty Nichter. Kitty Nichter was a friend of mine. And Charlotte. They were all my girlfriends. I'm going to see Charlotte when I go down to Florida soon. Oh, there's Johnny. He came home from the Air Force. He was there at my graduation. I remember my father couldn't be there. He was in the East. I believe he was burying his brother Edward. I remember when they told him Edward died, he cried. And there's Mary wearing my cap and gown. I loved my high school dress, graduation dress. It was pink with white lace over it. They were so nice. Oh, there's our priest. I believe his name was Father Ryder. Yeah. Oh, there's other classmates of mine. We had our 50-year class reunion this last year, believe it or not. We had a great turnout and several of those. In fact, the girls from high school, we still get together. There's Margie Connell. She became a terrific musician and taught my kids piano. I still am friends with her family. We get together, a lot of the high school girls I graduated with, we still get together once a month for lunch. And one of my high school classmates, her brother was the doctor that delivered a lot of my children. Oh, this is Raymond Wamister, my godfather. Johnny's visiting him in Connecticut. Middletown, Connecticut is where he lived. He was the officer in the Army for a career, and then became postmaster in Middletown. And he was my godfather, and Catherine was my godmother. But I never met him in all my life. I know he died in 1957. He was my mother's cousin. He was the son of Teresa Wamister and her husband. That's his wife Yvonne. She's a French girl. And it's their daughter's dress that I'm wearing in one of my favorite pictures when I was about 10. That's me. And Mary and I had the same coats. And there's now Raymond Wamister was the son of Teresa Wamister, and Teresa Wamister was the sister of Thomas Morris, who was my grandfather, my mother's father. Now this is Johnny in the Air Force, and I think we might have been are we at home here? Or I think we might have been at Forbes Air Force Base in Topeka, Kansas, visiting him. Either that or he was home on furlough visiting us. Oh, here he is. He's home visiting us. And there we are. Oh Lord, the red hat and my red dress. I remember that. My white coat. Johnny and Mom and Daddy. This is Gratiot Avenue. This was probably somewhere around 53, 54, 55 when Johnny was in the Air Force. Johnny and I were very close, and I missed him very much when he went away. He took me to his senior prom in high school. His brothers told him he had to go, so he took me. And he wore the white suit that he wore in Catherine's wedding, and I wore the white dress that I wore in Catherine's wedding. And there we are. Yeah. Yeah. The happy days. Johnny was in the Air Police, and then he went in to become the chaplain's assistant. And from there he thought he'd like to be a priest. He came out, went to seminary for a few years, and it was a matter of ill health that he fell into acromegalia, came out, worked for the Michigan Employment Security Commission, and never married, stayed home with Mom and Daddy and took care of them until the day they died. But he was good to everybody. He didn't have a family of his own, but he was like a father to everybody's family. Oh, there's my red hat on Mary. It doesn't surprise me. Sometimes sometimes I would borrow her dresses and sometimes she would borrow my clothes. We kind of, I guess, grew up in the same house. Always. There we go. Now we've got a christening. Oh, there's Mary Claire and Eugene now. Who is he? Who's got? That's Mrs. Weiss. Okay, this is one of Mary's babies. Eugene is the godfather, I think, of Patrick. I'm not sure. No, there's Mary Ann, Kathleen. That might be Francis. Johnny doesn't say whose baptism. Now, who's this little fella? Oh, that must be Mary Claire's little children. Yeah, Mary Claire had. Now, see if Mary Ann was here, she could name these children. There's a lot I would like to have her here for, but no. There's Joey and Kathleen romping on the front porch of Faircrest. The happy childhood. Ah, there's the new baby. That's Francis. Oh, Lord. That is Francis. Yes. That's not Patricia or Patrick. Patrick had a very definite look. That is Francis. Yes. He was about 4 or 5 years younger than Kathleen. University of Detroit. Oh, that must have been Tommy's graduation. It was very quick and fast. Tommy graduated from University of Detroit. And this is me when I worked for the airlines, and I honestly believe this was Forbes Air Force Base in Topeka, Kansas. I took a vacation and went out to Topeka, Kansas to visit Johnny. And I know we had a wonderful time. We took the train from Atchison to Topeka, and I remembered I was singing the song about Atchison. That's it. There's Johnny. Atchison, Topeka. From Atchison, Topeka on the Santa Fe. Johnny was stationed in Topeka, Kansas. And I was working for Northwest Airlines in Chicago, and I took a vacation, and I went out to visit him, and we had a great time. Yeah. He was a very, very handsome young man. And all my girlfriends were in love with him. When he died, I had emails from girlfriends of mine all over the place that said they were sorry to hear that he died, and they were praying for us, and they had a mad crush on him when they were teenagers. This is back at Grotto, First Communion again, and I do believe this time it's Francis. Or is it Kathleen? No, I think this one's Kathleen. Oh no, Joey! Joey! Oh, this is Joey's First Communion. Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. It was a happy day and it was a sad day because Barbara Gaka was supposed to lead that procession into church. And she died just a month before that First Communion day. But it was a happy day for Joey. Oh, there's Tony Weiss. It's Joe's brother, Tony. And there's Mary Claire, his wife. God rest her soul. She also died this year. That is, I believe that's Francis. Yes, that's Joey and that's Francis. And there's Mary Claire's little girl and Tony's. For a while, Mary Claire and Tony lived right upstairs. In fact, I think at this time, definitely, Joey's first communion, yes, they were living in the upstairs flat at Faircrest, and Mary and Joe were living downstairs. And Tony was a reporter for the Detroit Times. He did very well and had many stories right on the front page. That's their red car. Mary and Joe had a red car. They got that car right after the Second World War. I believe that was their car, yeah. It was a red car. I remember you had to be on a big long list to get a car after the Second World War because the factories started making cars again. And all during the war, all the factories were making airplanes and tanks and everything. And when all the soldiers came home after the war, you had to be on a special long list to get a car. And Catherine's name came up and she decided she didn't want the car, so Mary and Joe bought it. And you were lucky to even get a car then. There's little Francis. Oh, there's the stroller. Boy, these were the strollers they had in those days. They were all made of metal. And when you took the bottom tray and the handle off, the children could use them for a walker. And this is Eugene. Okay, this is Frank's graduation. This would be the year 1955. Frank was graduating. There he is, right there. It's very light, but that's him. He was graduating from Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. And after 4 years and 3 babies and a long, hard grind, he got his MD and became Dr. Francis Boyle. And then he came home to Detroit and worked and did his internship at St. John's Hospital, and then went back to Minnesota, to Tracy, to begin his family, and eventually they moved to Springfield, and that's where they are today. They raised 8 children, all doing well. There they are. There's Dolores, my cousin from New York. We all went to Frank's graduation in Omaha. It was a great day. There was a lot of sacrifices made for him to become a doctor, but it was well worth any effort we put into it, or my parents put into it, and Glenna's parents too. I must admit, everyone took part in it. It took a whole village to raise that boy. And there was the backbone, Glenna. It's Catherine and Fred and Mama. Oh, there's Freddie. Hello, Freddie Colby, my little godson. Yep. He was married today and has a big family. There's Catherine. Freddie, and there's some of Frank's boys. There's young Francis. And I have a funny feeling that's Pat. Because Phil is the other one running around in there, I think. I know that Frank and Freddie were born about the same year, around 52. And then 54, in February Phil was born, and in December Pat was born. And I do believe there were some preemies there. There they are. They came to Detroit. They lived downstairs on Gratiot with Mom and Daddy, and we lived upstairs until Frank finished his internship.
On.
Johnny was marvelous. He had things so in order. We always said he had files for his files. He sure did now. I'm glad for it. This was Faircrest House. It was a very special day. It was Kathleen's first communion, and I believe the year was around 1957. There's Tony, and yeah, they lived upstairs then. That was Tony and Mary, and is it going so fast? I can't see who is that girl there. I don't know who that girl is. Let's see. Go ahead. It might have been some of Louise' family. Boy, whoever was running this camera was really flying. Okay, there's Tony. This was at Grandma's house now. That was Kathleen's first communion. This is Katie and Eugene. So, okay, now we're dealing with 1958. Katie and Eugene were married, and they came home to live downstairs in the lower flat of Gratiot. And they lived there for 4 years. Eugene did his internship and his residency at St. John's, which was 1 year internship, 3 years residency, before he moved out to Grosse Pointe, to Thorntree. So they lived with Grandma and Grandpa in the same house. Mary was living in Faircrest. There's Johnny. This was 58. I was home and living upstairs with Mom and Daddy, and I think Johnny was too. Or else Johnny was working for MESC, and so he was stationed in different places, but he came home a lot. Eugene and Katie, they were just back from their honeymoon and starting life out new. Mary, there's Francis. Yeah, I recognize him. There's Mary and Joey. Children are growing up. Johnny. The newlyweds. They seem very happy. Yeah, and Mama. Yeah, Mom and Daddy were good about helping everyone get a start in life. That was 1958. Actually, I think it... Yeah, there's Catherine. And Kitty. That's Kitty. Yeah. Now that was... Where were these taken? I think they were taken in Faircrest in the dining room. Kitty was just a baby. There's Mary. Oh, this could have been 19... I'm trying to think. It was either the year Patricia was born. Probably that would have been December of 57. Although Eugene got married in 58. Yeah, that was 58. Or maybe even the beginning of 59. There's Mom and Johnny. It was right in that era. Yeah. Old faithful John. John must have had his own video camera. I remember Mama had a little one we all used to laugh at, but it was great. Took a lot of pictures. But Johnny would be the one to have the good one, because he took all these pictures, I think, even before Mama ever had a video camera. And he was the one for taking pictures. That's a lovely picture, Mom. I just wish we could have had her voice. Oh, there's Kathleen's first communion. She's beautiful. There she is. That was probably May of, I would say, May of 57 or 58. She had the most beautiful natural curly hair, and she still has it to this day. She has beautiful curly hair. There's Kitty. That must have been 57, because Kitty's still, she only looks like she's coming up on 2. And there's Daddy. Yes, it was 57, because Daddy retired that year. He was a guard at Oakland Hills. And there's Mommy and Daddy. There's many pictures of Mom and Daddy at this time. They were taken. I remember there was a still picture. I think all of us have a copy of it of Mom and Daddy. And I think it was taken on this day when these videos were taken. Yeah. Ah, there's Kitty. Catherine always had her dress so beautiful. Took such good care of her. Kitty grew up to go through nurses training and get a degree. She's a lovely girl today. Has her own home and is doing very well and very happy. And there's Freddie. He's the father of 7 children. Catherine. Yeah. Oh, there's Teresa. Teresa Keegan. Now she's the wife of John Keegan, who is a first cousin to my father, and I think we'll see him here. And there's Fred Colby. And there's John. That's John Keegan. My grandmother was Catherine Keegan. Her father was Mark. No, I can't say that. No, her father was Francis Keegan. And John Keegan, no, Peggy, you're getting things wrong. Okay, my grandmother was Catherine Keegan. Her father was John Keegan. And she had a brother named Francis Keegan, whose first son was John Keegan, and he was a cousin to my father, and he came from Ireland to live in Detroit. And later his brother Eugene and his brother Francis came here. And there was 9 children in their family, and they were cousins and very close to my father's family in Ireland. And all our lives, the only relative we ever really knew was, we called him Uncle John. But he was my father's first cousin. Now I believe Mary was expecting Patrick here. So this had to be 1957. She's expecting a baby. No. Patricia. She's expecting Patricia.